Hello everybody. We're going to do a video on the Fool's Journey today. The Fool's Journey. Pan out just a little bit. It's about as close to anything AI I have. So this is what the Fool card looks like in the Waite tarot deck and so on. We're going to talk about what the Fool's Journey is. The Fool's Journey is simply a metaphor for the journey through life that we all go through. And we use the major arcana, which is the higher, if you will, cards within the tarot deck, which consists of roughly 78 cards total. So we're going to look at the 22 cards that make up the major arcana, including the Fool card, which is the 0 card. Each of the major arcana has a numerical value attached to it. I'm not going to get into the numerology in it. We're just going to talk about very, very briefly what the Fool's Journey represents, okay? Like I said, the Fool, and here's another interpretation of the Fool in a different deck. This is the Witch's Herbal Tarot. Okay, this is what the Fool looks like there. And we see that one is a male, this one is a female. It doesn't matter. I mean, we all embody both masculine and feminine qualities and attributes. So we got to get past all that anyways. It's like racism or any other form of bigotry anyways. We should embrace that. If you look at many of the old cultures, some of the greatest warriors were actually female. I can name them, but I don't want to get into that right now. That'll be another video. But the Fool itself basically is, each of us as we begin our journey in life. And it stands for innocence, childlike innocence in general. You can see that in many of the symbols that symbolize that. You see how carefree he is. He has the minimum amount of provincials with him on his little sack right there. He's just frolicking about. His little sidekick, the dog, is warning him if he takes one more step, he's going to go over that cliff, but he still has that one step. So he's moving with free and abandon. He's got the white rose there that represents the purity, and the sun representing strength and many other things. You got the mountains in the background, which symbolize, you're going to have mountains to climb and so on and so forth. And there's a lot of other symbolism in there, including the sunflowers that make up, his long shirt and so on. So there's a lot to be said about it. But it's the childlike way that, we look at the world when we're very, very young, if you will. And the Bible itself mentions something like that, that you have to have a childlike spirit if you ever hope to enter into, heaven, for example. And for whatever reason, anytime the camera's on, I screw up, My mind goes blank for some reason. It's like when I play my guitar, it's the same way. I can play flawlessly. And the moment I hit record, it's like, man, I'm all over the place. Same thing with my memory sometimes. I'm getting better. I don't know if it's stage fright. I don't know what it is. Some kind of subconscious friggin' something or other that's getting in my way. But this represents the 0 card, as you can see here in the Waite version of the Fool card at the top. Okay. And again, it stands for spontaneity, childlike innocence, and faith. And you're ready to go out into the world and learn your lessons. What is this life all about, kind of a thing. So now the number 0 doesn't represent the beginning per se. I mean, it is the beginning in the one sense, but it actually resides in the middle between the numbers 11 and 12, representing that perfect balance, if you will, between the masculine and feminine, the dark and the light, and all of those other types of things. At that point, you're an empty vessel, okay? You don't know anything about racism or any of those types of things. Those are all learned anyways, right? Any type of bigotry is something learned. But you don't have to accept any of that. Anyway, that's a whole nother thing. So as the fool is an empty vessel and ready to learn and go forth throughout his life, he seems like he frolics about, in folly, just waiting to, fall into some kind of misadventure or disaster kind of a thing. All right, so the next thing, or the next card, is the Magician. And it represents the positive side of the masculine power of creative impulse, conscious awareness, and the power of the will. Now, keep in mind, that just because there are either yin or yang, black, white, male, feminine, there is no good or bad. They're both exactly the same, or they're on the same line. You have one line, or one side of that line represents good, and the opposite side of that line represents not so good, if you will. But it's relative in a sense. I mean, you can always go back in regards to something going from good to not so good, or from something not so good to very good, right? They're on the same line, if you will. And that brings me, well, first off, let's talk about the Magician. Again, I said it was the masculine side of things, the creative impulse, conscious awareness, the power of the will. And the next card, the High Priestess, represents the feminine side of that, okay? And again, there's neither good, bad, or anything of that nature. It's awaiting the unrealized potential to bring into expression, okay? So basically, when you're talking about masculinity, you have the creative will to do, to get things done, and things like that. Femininity is usually described to the creative force, in a sense, because they bring forth, the child and things of that nature. And there's many other qualities that are ascribed to that, such as intuition, and many other things. Whereas the masculine side of things, like I said, they're the go-getters. They're the ones that get things done. They are the force, the negative force in a sense. They were a repelling force in a sense, maybe. Whereas the feminine is like a magnet. It draws to her. It doesn't assert itself to get it. Those things come to her, if you will. Okay. All right. So next up is the Empress. Now, the Empress represents the world of nature, sensations. Just like a baby, he wants to explore everything around him. He sticks things in his mouth because that's the only real sense that's developed at that age, where he can, come to know things around him. And we have to have that childlike nature, about us in order to explore and to understand the world in which we live. So the next card after that, which is the fourth card, fifth if you count the Fool itself, which is 0. This is card number 4. Okay, it represents, in this case, the Emperor. Now, this represents structure and authority, the fatherly figure, where the Empress represents the motherly figure. She's often portrayed as, well, it doesn't matter. She's the motherly figure. This is the father figure, if you will. And the Fool discovers order and rules through the father, if you will. Okay? And that still holds true for the most part in today's world as well. The feminine, or the mother, nurtures. The masculine basically, teaches and holds the child responsible for their actions and so on. All right. Next is the Hierophant. Now, the Hierophant represents interpreting of arcane knowledge and mysteries, religion versus spirituality, and things of that nature. You're starting to become aware of those things which are beyond the materialistic world, if you will, and exploring them. Some people never get beyond what they're told as a child to believe. We're to go out and try the spirits to see if they're true, right? That's a Christian perspective on things, meaning we don't accept everything as as a fact until we prove it to ourselves to be so. And most people don't do that. So, but we see that thought echoed again within the Hierophant. Okay. Next up, we have the Lover's card. As the Fool progresses, now he's starting to get those creative urges, those sexual urges as well, and he desires union with another. Learning balance, giving as well as taking, sharing, and, just discovering balance, if you will. It's one of the first experiences that he has with balance in this world. Yeah, I know children go through that too, and we scold them because they don't want to share their toys, but they really haven't developed, in most cases, the ability to understand that yet. So we need to be a little bit more patient and loving with them. Now, that's not always the case. I mean, there are old souls out there. Some children advance very, very quickly to the point where even as a very, very young child, they have already exceeded a lot of adults in their maturity level. Okay? All right, next up is the Chariot itself. Now, as an adult, this represents the vigorous ego while riding victoriously throughout the world, if you will. Okay? That's, as you can see, we have both the black and the white Sphinx that are pulling. And no, there's other things I could say. I don't want to get too much into the actual meanings and forms of tarot for each of these cards because it differs to some degree from the Fool's Journey explanation itself. So we'll get to that when we get into the tarot. Next up is the Strength card, and this is the Leo card. Okay, the Strength card is brings challenge, disillusionment. Life brings challenges and disillusionment, I should say. And we learn patience and tolerance as a result of that, exposure, to those types of elements in our life. So as you can see, what we're doing is as we go through our life, and these different cards represent different levels of our experiences and how it's supposed to affect us and teach us so we can progress to the next level, if you will. It's like the ladder, like Jacob's ladder, if you will, climbing step by step up into, the heavenly realms, so to speak. The next card up, which is the 9th card, or the number 9, I should say, is the Hermit card. Now, the Hermit card is, later on in the Fool's Journey, where you start to ask questions like, why? Why? So he becomes absorbed with finding answers to his many, many questions in life. I started that part of my journey very early on. It used to get me in all kinds of trouble. That's why I was considered the black sheep of my family, even though my siblings would deny that fully. There's a lot I can say about that, and I won't, despite everything else, and I have a lot of reasons not to. I do love them. So, all right, so after the Hermit asking all the questions, about his life and the, who, what, when, where, why, that kind of stuff, then we have the Wheel of Fortune, okay? The Wheel of Fortune is basically where we start to recognize the destiny through life, the ups and downs, and a wider perspective of life in general, really, is what this is supposed to represent. Now, in tarot, it may have a few other, definitions as well. And well, it does. All these cards have a lot of definitions. But it's just like runes. It's not just what the words are to define it. It's the picture, and especially in tarot, that you can develop the overall scene of what's going on with the energy and the way you feel, as you're seeing these things, or the things you're hearing in your head or in your heart as you're pulling these cards. I mean, that's what intuition is. That's what reading tarot or any form of divination is. Throwing the bones, throwing runes or pulling runes, looking at entrails, which I don't understand, looking at tea leaves, coffee grounds, whatever you're drawn to in regards to that particular type of endeavor. And almost anybody can teach themselves how to do this, because we all have these intuitive abilities. You have to develop them, and you have to be willing to go within to really do this. But some people are scared of it. Some people believe it's evil. You have all these other reasons why people never, choose to do these things. And I'm not going to judge anybody. That's up to them. I had to go through that phase too. I had to do my own, weighing of my heart. And my heart is light as a feather as a result of, going within and so on. Not to say I'm done with my journey. I still have a lot of things to grapple with. I still have shadows. We all do. And I think it takes a lifetime to actually overcome most of this. But I'm getting there. I'm getting really, really close to that. All right, so next up we have the 11 card, which is the Justice card. So the Justice card basically says making important life choices, moving forward, and not backing up. Okay? Once we've learned a lesson, we can always go backwards. We can allow, temptations and other things tempt us to go reverse direction instead of going forward like we're supposed to go. Life is about learning. We're here to learn lessons. And once we've learned and dispelled all that so-called karmic debt, either from previous lives or even from this life, we move forward. We become closer to God, if you will. And that's echoed again in the Gnostic text as well, I might add. It's not just a esoteric belief system, okay? A lot of the esoteric belief systems come from the world's religions as a whole, and also the secret knowledge that, was also hidden behind many of those ancient faiths from Egypt, from India, from, ancient Sumeria, even in the Mesoamerica and things like that, the ancient belief systems. All right, so card number 12 is our Hanged Man. Okay, this is the Hanged Man. Now this is basically where we encounter our personal crosses, where we have to endure through difficulties, which if we do so will bring about humbleness. Okay, and humbleness is a very, very important aspect of this. You can actually learn to love others, to be, if you are not ordinarily already this way, become empathetic, becoming empathic, which is almost a precursor, unless you were given this gift by God, to do things such as divination or become psychic and things like that. The more in tune you are with God's creation and everything else, the more that you love, first hate it, if you will, the more God-like attributes, characteristics, traits, and gifts you will start to develop. So keep that in mind, all you evildoers out there. And yes, I know who you are. And I know that you watch me every day. And I know that you've been doing it for years. So this is for your edification as well. I don't hate you, even though I know some of the shit you've been doing is beyond heinous. It's disgusting. But, all things done in secret are going to be revealed. I hope you understand that. Some of you have already had things revealed. Some of you are already hurting. So I hope you will use that as a springboard to stop doing the things you're doing. You're not just hurting others, you're hurting yourself on a major way. And you're hurting God too, by the way. It hurts him to see these things. So, alright, next up is death. People get freaked out when they see this card pulled for them, but it's not a bad thing. It's basically we're cutting out the non-essentials, our habits, our things that keep us bound, our addictions, for example, relationships at times, cutting out those things which no longer serve us. That's what it's about. That takes courage. It takes strength as well as decisiveness. It's not easy to let somebody go. Say, for example, a sibling who is just downright nasty. Is it within your best interest to continually turn the other cheek? Even Jesus said, yeah, you forgive your enemy 7 times, 70 times, right? It's 490 times, by the way. So once it gets to that 491st time, do you stop forgiving him? I would say yes, or he would have said infinity. He's very, very specific about the choosing of his words. So there is a point in time where it's obvious they don't have any desire whatsoever to repent of their ways. At that time, and you'll have to use your own judgment at what that is. At that time, that's when you say enough. I've drawn the line. You stepped over that line one too many times. You know, I wish you well, but I don't want to speak with you, see you, talk to you, or I'm not going to be there to help you anymore. It's that simple. And yes, you can do that. And you can do that with a clean conscience. I've done it multiple times. And it wasn't easy for me because I do like to see the best in people. But when you've been used as a result of that empathy multiple times, you have to learn that lesson. You have to. It's one of the lessons every one of us who is empathic has to learn, okay? It's not an easy lesson for those of us. All right, next up is my card. And I say mine because as a Sagittarian in particular, this is my card, the Temperance card. This is about learning balance, okay? Stability through maturity. The hard lessons in life brings temperance to us, or it's supposed to anyways. Again, balance. Everything in esoteric, hermetic, occultic, and if you really study the religious texts of the world, you're going to see it echoed there as well, is about balance. Now, I know there are those, in some cases, in spirituality would disagree, but I would respectfully disagree with their disagreement. I still love them, but I think we can disagree on that, okay? I think that, you know, I can see enough of the information that have been passed down, I mean, for like eons in all cultures that are the same, even though presumably there's been no communication until fairly recently. I don't believe that. I believe our history is bullshit for a lot of reasons, and again, I'll share that too. But as a segue, very quickly, look into ancient Tartaria. That subject alone will take you off in a literal maze of multiple different areas that will open up your eyes to the reality of the lies that we've been taught about almost everything in our life, okay? Well, look at anything in terms of truth, and you're going to see that too, but you'll see it in a very grandiose way in that subject alone. All right, the next one is another card that usually brings fear to people when they see it, and it's the Devil card. But this represents the seduction, the addictions, the compulsions we all must confront and learn to temper with the temperance that we just started to establish. In other words, it's the shadow side of ourselves, and every one of us are going to be tested, every one of us. And a lot of people, they don't even try. They simply give in almost immediately and succumb. And we've all tripped, you know, occasionally, you know, on certain things. But if you live it and you, you gravitate to it without fail, you don't even try to temper, you know, your desires and things like that, you are severely out of balance. And it will have repercussions physically, mentally, spiritually. And those people out there I just addressed a second ago, you know I'm talking to you specifically. All right, so after the Devil comes the Tower. Now this is also something that usually scares people when they see this card pulled in tarot. It's not to be feared. The Tower basically represents, you know, the fortress of our consciousness, if you will. We've all built this to protect ourselves. But we can destroy it ourselves, bring down that, you know, by coming and confronting our, if you will, devils, and then, you know, moving forward in a balanced and empathetic way. Okay, we can tear down our own tower, if you will. Because if we don't, the universe, source, God, your subconscious, whatever the case may be, will make sure that it does. And again, I echo that sentiment to those who are going through hell right now, or on the verge of going through it. If you haven't already started, you will. Trust me, you will. And remember this, because I know you're going to watch this. All right, next after this is the Star card. Okay, so we are no longer hidden or not naked, but we're free. The Fool is blessed with trust and replacing negativity in his life. Okay, that's what this particular card represents in terms of the Fool's journey, where we get to a point now where we have learned our temperance, we have confronted our demons, and we have won. And that's to say that we are now very familiar with them, and when they rise at a later date, we can confront them and we can go ahead and temper them very quickly. Okay? We control them, they no longer control us. So we've exercised ourselves, so to speak. All right, next up is the Moon card. Now, the Moon card in terms of the Fool's journey means bliss above as far as, making him vulnerable to the illusions. I'm sorry, because once you've gotten to a point where you've thrown off your devils and everything else, you are now susceptible to yet another level of deception or illusion. You're susceptible to both fancy and falsity. And again, this is something that I was going through and battling with right now, trying to determine the reality of the situation versus my preconceived notions or falsities and things of that nature, or any fantasy I may have created along the way. It's something you all will go through. If you are really embarking on this Fool's journey, or this spiritual journey, I will say, you are going to be tested, and going to be tested in very, very, difficult ways. You're going to have to prove that you have learned these hard lessons. And trust me when I say it is not for the weak of heart. So I hope that you're taking the time to absorb the lessons that you have learned thus far, so that you can bravely go forward in this Fool's journey and overcome to get to the end, or to the heavenly realm, so to speak. All right, next up after the Moon comes clarity, the Sun. Okay, the sun shines in all the hidden places and dispels the confusion, the fear, and enlightens us. So this is the part of the journey where we literally see light at the end of the tunnel. Okay, we're getting close. Next up is another card that sometimes brings a little bit of discomfort when it's pulled, and that's the Judgment card. This is where the Fool is now reborn, born again, so to speak. All up the false ego is shed. You're discovering joy, not fear, in your life. It's what rules you. It's the center of your life now. Finding forgiveness in yourself and all others around you. It helps to dispel ignorance. And now you're ready to make the decisions for your future in a wise way. And that one is one that values and cherishes, throws off all discord, loves truth. Okay? He discovers his life's purpose, or she, at this point, and all doubts and hesitations are now vanishing. You're ready to follow and make true your dreams. That's what that represents. And last but not least, we have the World card. Now, this is where we can experience life as full and meaningful as is, possible for us. The future is filled with infinite promises at this point. Become actively involved in the world. You share your learned knowledge with others. You share your talents, and you will prosper at almost everything that you do and help and teach others to do the same. Okay? We're not here for any type of self-serving, grandiose way where we basically get the most toys to be the victor in some kind of made-up, egotistical dream of a reality. That is Satanism at its, most specific meaning. It's a purely materialistic endeavor, okay? It's completely devoid of spirituality in the classical sense. They do their spells not to, worship a single being, but to solicit their own greed, if you will, their own desires, and their envy, their pride, their malice, their addictions, and whatever it is, And yes, again, I'm talking to who. Those people out there that I'm addressing specifically know who I'm talking about, what I'm talking about. Although they'll mock me, as they have many, many times in the past. Their lives are a perfect example of my truth versus their lies. I wish them well. I hope they decide to learn at some point. But so far, unfortunately, they have proven that they're not really willing to learn. So they haven't even started their fool's journey. They're just at being a fool at this point. They're the ones that have gone over the ledge. So is it too late for them? That's between them and God. But there are others out there who are on a similar journey and trajectory towards disaster, that you can still stop yourself. You still can actually partake in this journey and learn, and then get to the end of that journey and excel. Now, that does not mean that those who are seemingly living abundant lifestyles are embarking on that journey. That's not what that means at all. Most of those people have, if nothing else, committed the sin of usury, right? Most of those people are highly in debt. I haven't used a credit card in almost 20 years. In fact, after my divorce, I got rid of every one of those cards as well. Everything, even the high ticket items, I've always purchased with cash. Even if I wanted something, I didn't have the money for it, I waited till I did to get it. That takes discipline, especially in today's world where the temptation is to really go out there and use credit, debit, whatever. Well, not debit so much. Usually debit card, you have the money in the bank, right? But credit cards. But remember now, the person who is borrowing is always going to be servant to the lender. And, Jesus showed his unappreciation for those people who are setting up their money-changing tables in the synagogues of his day. The very same people doing the same things in our world today, so to speak. The very same people. That's another story. Now, I certainly don't want to be called anti-Semitic, but I will pull out their own Babylonian Talmud and I will show them and all Christians who support the Zionist agenda that they hate Christ and they hate you as well. And those aren't my words, it's their words. And it's written in their books. But that's not what I wanted to talk about in this. I wanted to share with you the fool's journey as it is. It's already 33 minutes and 30 seconds. 333, that's a magical number. So I'm going to go ahead and end this right now. And just like in my reading, I wish you all the very best. And we'll have much, much better videos later on. Okay, I promise you. As soon as I get my feet back on the ground and I'm able, I'm going to put together some high quality videos on just a whole potpourri of different subjects and so on, because I've got a tremendous amount of knowledge and acquired data. I want to share it with people. So with that being said, I wish you all a very wonderful rest of the weekend. Take care. Bye-bye.